What a pain in the ass. Hey folks, we are back with another video, and today we're going to be working on a Yeti SB 5.5. So this is a buddy's bike. He won't be using it for a while, and I will be rebuilding the whole thing, right? Shocks, fork, dropper, infinity system, everything. So it does have a problem though, and that has to do with the pedal. The actual spindle to unscrew it is completely stripped, and unfortunately this is a Time pedal, and this particular pedal doesn't have flat spots for a pedal wrench on the front side. You could only unscrew it with an 8mm on the back side. That is a problem. This is a carbon crank. I do not want to do anything to damage this crank. These are very expensive cranks. I love these cranks, but expensive. So what we're going to be doing in this video is showing you how you could safely remove a pedal from a crank if there's absolutely no means to do it with a backside tool, like an Allen key, and if it has no flat spots for a pedal wrench to attach to in order to be able to unscrew it from the front side. All right, so let's get started. So as mentioned, this is a Time ATAC pedal, and there's no way to remove it right now, right? It is literally stripped in place. I've even tried, I have a Park Tools Allen set that has a bit in the back. This black bit is to help with unthreading stripped bolts, but ultimately the bolt is too stripped for even this thing to work. All right, so I don't have a choice over here. The front side won't work. This little tool in the back side won't work, so we got to figure out a way around it. So right now the best option is to remove the pedal, see if there's any other flat sides that we can leverage. If there isn't, then we'll deal with it in a whole different way, right? So to remove the pedal on a Time, first you're going to need a snap ring plier, just a straight set of snap ring pliers. Put them into the holes, any of the holes here, and then you don't have to turn the plier. You could just turn the pedal counterclockwise. Get in the hole. There we go. And just turn the pedal, all right? And it'll unscrew. A little bit more. All right, not sure what you can see. I'm trying to bend my hand so you can sort of see what's going on over here. But ultimately, I'm just holding on to this plastic cap with the retaining clip plier and unscrewing using the pedal instead of having to turn the cap, all right? So the cap is off. Now, if we look inside, we have a nut on the inside holding onto the axle. Pulls the whole pedal to the axle, all right? This is a 10mm nut. So we're going to take a 10mm socket. I think it's on lock. And we're going to unscrew this, probably good crack. There we go. And let's remove the nut. That's easy. I should be able to do the rest by hand. So, yep. So our nut is out. There we go. Now, we need to remove the pedal. The only thing is, the pedal's in there real tight against the bearing, so we're gonna need a mallet, soft side mallet, and just tap out the pedal, basically. We're just literally disconnecting it from the bearing. So give it a couple of shots, probably take a couple of shots. All right. Come on. Oop, nearly there. There we go. And there is our pedal. So from what I could tell, let's take out, see, this is just this is the dust seal, but this is also a dumb idea. There is no flat spot whatsoever on this side that we can hold on to, none. So we're going to have to come up with a different means to safely remove this without damaging the crank arm, and that will involve removing the crank arm, all right? So I'm going to remove the crank arm from the bike, and I'll show you how we could deal with this. I removed the crank arm. Now to remove the spindle. And the safest way we could do this is by using a vise and soft jaws, all right? Why? We don't want to just grab like a channel lock and force this open. Might work, but you take a chance of actually damaging the crank arm, right? This carbon fiber, as strong as carbon fiber is, it's not strong in every direction. And basically these are just little fibers that are wrapped around a metal insert, and we don't want to damage the insert in here, all right? We definitely want to be as safe as possible. And if you look inside, this thing is severely stripped inside, all right, on the spindle. And like I said, there is no other place where I could grab with any kind of plier or wrench or anything in order to be able to unscrew this thing, right? So we need to grab soft jaws. Now, ultimately what we need to do, I'm not sure what size, so we're gonna test different sizes, and oh, that looks pretty good right there. So basically what we want is a size where it fits in, but doesn't have too much play. What you don't want is something that's too short, and if you do something that's too long, you won't be able to get tight enough grip, right? So right now that 12 millimeter seems like our best bet, and that 1/2 inch is a potential, although probably a little bit too big. As you can see, I have play, right? So let's test the 12 millimeter first. Where's that 12 millimeter? Let's test it on this side so we could put it in the middle of the screen. If the crank was in the bike, let's say this is the drive side, spindle's over here, right? This is the front side of the bike, back side of the bike. We would need to unscrew this towards the back side of the bike, basically, right? So not towards the front. So essentially from this side, it's counterclockwise, okay? That we would need to unscrew this from. Sorry, clockwise from this side. When facing from this side, it's clockwise like this, okay? Having a 12 millimeter hole. Let's make sure it's super tight. Okay, feels tight now. Oh, the whole thing is spinning. Boy, that's in there good. Holy cow. Oh. See if we can make it tighter. Oh, did that work? Oh, hold on. I think I got it. Do I? Yes, I do. All right. Boy, that thing's in there tight. Holy cow. Wow. Jesus. Was this thing stripped when it was put in? Oh, Jesus. Come on. There we go. Whew. Holy cow. I don't know, man. I mean, that's hard to say. What I'm going to do is grab another pedal and test it out to make sure that this isn't stripped on the inside. I'll be back. So I'm thinking that it might have not been threaded properly, and we are going to test that right now. So I have this is drive side. I have a drive side Chester pedal over here that's just hanging around, right? Now, I'm going to put this guy in here, and technically for the drive side, we should be spinning to turn on towards the front. And let's see how easy. Yeah, see, that's not easy at all. So it's not stripped, that's good. But he should get re-tapped. Yep, so he goes in there, so he's good. So we're safe. Yep, we are good. So my buddy lucked it out with his crank. All right, so let this be a lesson to most people out there, or to people out there. This is why it pays to just give your bike a little bit of attention once or twice a year. Little details like this. So chances are then, since it looks like it was threaded improperly. Ultimately, metal on aluminum will have an oxidizing effect, basically, which will create potential to seize, okay? So, or it could, who knows what kind of conditions this thing's been running in regularly. Ultimately, it could have just seized based on, again, just buildup over time and moisture buildup over time, right? So at the end of it all, if you maintain your stuff annually, little details like this, you could save yourself a lot of headaches. Again, if you don't have a clamp and a soft jaw, this would be a real nightmare to try and take out, right? It was in there real good. You saw the force. I mean, one, I had to really apply force on that soft jaw. I mean, a lot of force, to a point where it sort of did a little bit of damage to my soft jaw. Two, I had to apply a hell of a lot of force in order to let this thing go, to unspin it and unthread it from the actual spindle itself, right? You're not doing it that easily with channel locks or vice grips, so on and so forth. Can it get done? Sure, but you really will take a chance on damaging your crank arm in some way or form if you do, right? So if you get stuck in this situation where you have a spindle that is fully seized into a crank arm, especially a carbon crank arm, you definitely want to do it the right way. Grab soft jaws, grab a vise, bring it to a shop if you don't have the tools. If you have the tools, grab a soft jaw and a vise, put it in there. The goal isn't to save the spindle. In this case, this spindle's shot. There is no saving it. It's going to need to get replaced. The goal is to not damage the crank arm, all right? That's the absolute goal that you should be focusing on. So, next, since we got the pedal, let's assemble the pedal to give you guys an idea how to assemble Time pedals. All right, I'll be back. This is a quick mock-up as far as how to take apart a Time pedal, how to service it, and put it back together, all right? So again, this was already taken apart as you saw in the beginning of the video, but just to go through a full explanation, right? So you're gonna take snap ring pliers, you're gonna put them in the holes, right? And then you're just gonna turn the pedal and you'll be able to remove the cap, right? When you remove the cap, there's gonna be a 10mm nut on the inside. We're gonna grab a 10mm socket, go in there, and we are going to loosen that and remove it. Okay, now there's the nut. Now, this is easy at the moment, but when you do it, it's not going to be easy. It's actually going to be very difficult. There's two options to remove the spindle from the spindle from the actual pedal body, right? You could use the nut, put it back in here, and sort of like we do for Fox shocks, we could screw it in a couple of turns, all right? And then turn your socket around, take the mallet and give it a good tap, and it'll come out, right? Or, if you notice, there's a dimple in the axle. And my guess, the dimple in the axle is for a punch. So you could take a punch, right, and put it in the dimple, right, without the screw in there. The screw's out at this point. Take the punch, put it in a dimple, right, and then just give it a tap. Good tap. It's going to take a few good taps, and the spindle will come out, right? So now we have the seal, the spindle, where is it? Oh, the pedal, cap, and where's the nut? What do I do with the nut? Oh, it's in here. And the nut, right? Now, we could try and take out the bearing, right? So there's a bushing on the inside. Not sure if it's removable, to be honest, but we could take the bearing out by taking, again, a punch and popping it out, right? There's only that one bearing. So, and then there's a bushing, but like I said, I don't know if this is removable or should be removable. I don't want to damage it because these are plastic and they could crack if they're not removable, and that is definitely not removable. So I'm leaving that inside, leave the bushing inside, right? So that is all our components. Now we clean everything, right? So we start with the spindle, make sure that's all nice and clean. Now clean the seal, right? Grab this guy. I mean, I'm just showing this, doing this to show you guys, I should say, right? Ultimately clean it real well, and then clean the inside of the pedal. Try and get any old grease or dirt out of there. right? Actually, might be able to use the punch to help us out here. There we go. Basically pull it through. Oh wow, that actually did a pretty good job. So then, try and clean the outside area over here best you can. Okay. Let's grab a cleaner cloth. Let's put this guy in here. Squeeze them inside and then spin them on the threads. Try and make sure the threads are super clean. All right, and the bearing seat needs to be super clean for sure. Oh, that's clean. Yeah, and this side's super clean too. Clean the inside over here where the seal sits. Make sure there's no buildup in there. That's pretty clean, right? Okay, I would say our pedal is done. Make sure it's super clean inside, right? Then we have our bearing. Now, for the bearing, if you want to replace, first test your bearing. Actually, this might work for me. Since it's here. Oh yeah, that'll work. Test the bearing, see if it's worn, if it shakes, if it moves, or if it's grindy. This one seems to be okay, but it's replaceable. This bearing over here, R1560. Yep, it's a R1560 bearing, all right? So if you need to replace your bearings, go to Fast Eddie's. I use Fast Eddie's, no affiliation with the guy. It's just I find his bearings are great for pedals and very cost effective. So a 1516 bearing will take care of it, right? So you could change the bearing and then just clean your cap. Make sure the threads on your cap are clean. And then it's just a question of putting them back together. As for putting them back together, first we're going to take grease. We're going to put grease on our spindle, backside, and a little bit on the front side where the bearing sits. All right, spread it around. We're going to take our dust cap, so the beveled part forwards, the flat part backwards, just like that. All right. So then what we're going to do is we're going to put in our pedal. Okay. Now I'm going to douse our bearing in grease since this is sealed. Right. And we're going to put him in just like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to basically set the bearing using the screw or the nut. All right, so now it's going to get to a point where you won't be able to turn them. That's where you're going to need this guy here. 8mm for the other side, okay? And basically you screw them down. Now I'm not going to do them too tight because I might not be able to get them out because this side's stripped. So then put in your cap. Make sure your cap is free of grease. Should be a lot easier to screw in now by hand. And then again, use your snap ring plier and just screw them in. Just like that. And we have a fully serviced pedal. All right. So again, guys, the big one with this had to do more with the pedal being seized in the crank. It pays to service your pedals as well as any part that screws together at least once a year. Take a rainy day, go through your bike. Wintertime, go through your bike. For me, it's a fun project, basically. It doesn't take all that much time. When you get used to it, these things go by real quick, and ultimately, they could save you some real potential headaches. Like I said, this was a bit of a pita, to say the least, right? I mean, I did not expect it to be so hard to come out. It took a lot of force, and I'm just glad that it did come out, to be honest. So, if you like the video, please click the like button. Subscribe to see more videos. Click the bell, ding, in order to get reminded when new videos get released. All right. And until the next video, we hope all is well with everyone, and we will be talking to you soon. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.